Welcome to NarrativeNook audio tales where enchanted stories come to life. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe, like and share to support our channel. Enjoy listening.
Just as Willow's head started drooping, Jasper quickly reached out to stop her from sliding off the couch. Willow was thoroughly exhausted. Jasper's firm and broad chest gave her a sense of security, and he smelled pretty good too. She stretched out on the couch and used his thigh as her pillow. "Why don't you sleep on the bed?" Jasper suggested quietly. "I don't want to." Willow rejected the idea with her eyes still closed. She got into a more comfortable position and said, "I want to sleep here." Jasper had to let her be. Soon, she was sound asleep on his thigh, so he turned his attention back to her notes. A gentle sea breeze came in through the window. All was calm and serene. Willow was still fairly innocent when it came to things of a romantic nature. She barely had any experience interacting with a man romantically. Even now, she was simply resting on Jasper's thigh because it was comfortable for her. She didn't think about what it was like for a man and a woman to be in this position. On the other hand, Jasper glanced down at her a few times. When she turned over and faced his waist, his breath became a little ragged and his jaws tightened. He could feel her warm breath against him. Though her breaths were soft and light, they felt like they were burning his skin. Just then, Willow stretched her arm out to shift to a more comfortable position and ended up resting her hand above the center of his pants, pressing down on a sensitive spot. Jasper's entire face stiffened and his whole body tensed up. He didn't dare to move a single muscle as he gently picked her hand up and moved it away. Willow didn't notice a thing. She was still in the lands of dreams. Alas, that was not the end of it. Every now and then, Willow would toss around and her arms would fly all over. Even her face would press up against Jasper at times. He was having a hard time focusing on her intriguing notes. All of a sudden, the ship was caught in a tumultuous wave that sent it soaring up high before crashing back down. Everyone on the ship was jolted by the sudden drop. Willow was no longer on the couch either. Jasper had scooped her into his arms at once. Her entire body was pressed against his as he held her head close to prevent her from getting any neck injuries. By the time Willow opened her eyes, Jasper was already cradling her in his arms like a child. What happened? Willow blinked. She hadn't figured out the situation yet. "We ran into some high waves." As soon as Jasper replied, the boat rocked and dipped forward once more. The momentum rocked everything on the ship too. Willow instinctively threw her arms around Jasper's neck and buried her face against him. She also wrapped her legs around his waist, clinging onto him like an octopus. With one hand on the armrest, Jasper used his other hand to keep Willow close so that she wouldn't fall. They had only been out on the ocean for 2 hours, so they were rather unlucky to be running into such high waves already. However, though the ride became a lot rockier now, it was unlikely that anyone would be gravely injured. At last, once the waters calmed down, those who had sustained light injuries, and there were quite a number of them, too, quickly tended to their bruises with ointments and heat patches. "Are you all right, miss?" Johanna Lisburn, one of the female bodyguards, quickly knocked on Willow's door. A perfectly uninjured Willow opened the door and said, "I'm fine." "What about you? Did anyone get hurt?" "We're all fine," Johanna replied before glancing at the man behind Willow. Although it was her first time meeting Jasper, she was trained enough to see that he was undoubtedly a formidable fighter. At the very least, he was certainly a lot stronger than they were, so she wasn't worried about Willow's safety when she was with him. In any case, Elliot had informed them that this man was allowed to stay by Willow's side to protect her, so all the bodyguards could do now was be in charge of the safety of those that were beyond Jasper's protection. Willow left her room to check on the injured team members. She found that quite a few of them sported bumps and bruises. One of them even had a dislocated shoulder and was busy looking for someone who could put it back for him. "Can you find someone who can help me, Miss Presgrave? I'm in so much pain right now." "Of course. I'll get someone right away. A professional, please." The man was covered in sweat. Soon, Willow brought Jasper over and pointed at the injured team member. "Can you help him?" Jasper nodded. "Yeah. Hey men, go easy on me, okay? I don't do too well with pain," the man pleaded. Jasper walked over to him and asked, "How should I go easy on you?" "Well, maybe you could use a gentler method like arg." Before the man knew what was happening, his bone popped back in place. He screamed by instinct at first, but he immediately began to move his arm around. "Whoa. It doesn't hurt anymore. You fixed it." He finally realized that Jasper had simply distracted him with the question before fixing his shoulder in just 2 seconds. "You're amazing, Mr. Wyatt," the team member said gratefully. "Where did you learn how to do this?" "No formal training necessary. You'll become rather good at doing it too if you've done it enough times," Jasper replied. The women on the team were all taken with how cool he was, but after hearing his response, they began to stare in shock. "What kind of work does Mr. Wyatt do? What would involve dislocating your shoulders so often?" Willow chuckled. She found that despite being rather stern most of the time, Jasper did have a funny bone hidden in there somewhere. "Okay. Let's all go back to our rooms and rest," Willow said before taking Jasper's hand and leaving with him. The women exchanged looks. Was the handsome special representative Willow's boyfriend? Why else would they share a room and be this intimate in public? Although the women on the team admired Jasper, they knew better than to try and steal him away from Willow. When Willow and Jasper stood together, they looked like the leading characters of their own fairy tale. They looked good together. Willow went to the ship's bridge to get an update. They would be arriving at their first destination in 3 hours at most, but as the island was populated by indigenous people, everyone had to be on high alert to avoid getting attacked. That being said, the bodyguards that Willow brought along with her gave everyone an added sense of security. After 3 more hours on the ship, they finally arrived at the first island. Only a dozen or so indigenous families were living on this island. Although they were technically under the administration of a small nation nearby, they were so far out on the ocean that they were basically living freely on their own. Thankfully, the team had gotten the help of a local guide in advance, so they were able to settle down fairly quickly. Even so, they had to be on their guard against the locals as they had brought a ton of supplies with them. Willow was given a fairly acceptable cottage on the beach. Jasper stayed close to her at all times. Willow was interested in seeing how the locals lived. A group of barefooted children came running over to scrutinize Willow. She went back to her room and brought out some snacks to share with them. Soon, it seemed that they were getting along quite well. Night came and Willow was dead tired. Although it was June, the diurnal temperature variation in this region was pretty significant. Willow sat on a chair by the ocean, leaned against Jasper's arm, and slowly dozed off. She was already sound asleep by the time Jasper noticed. His lips curved up ever so slightly. "She's really like a kid sometimes." He carried her back to bed and tucked her in before lying down on the couch nearby. Although it was quite hard for him to fit all 6 feet and a couple more inches of him onto that tiny couch, he didn't get in the bed with her. The rustling of footsteps could be heard outside the window. Even though the sulkers were careful with their sounds, Jasper was still alarmed. His eyes snapped open, the silvery moonlight shining on him. "No, I shouldn't hurt anyone. Willow's team just came to the island and they need to start work soon." He went to the window and waited for the invader to come in. The moment they poked their heads inside, they had the scare of their lives. The faint-hearted would have blacked out the moment they met Jasper's gaze. The air around him was filled with murder, and he glared at the thief. One look at his eyes, and the thief scurried away. It was that moment Jasper was glad he came along, or even with the bodyguard standing sentry, he would still be worried. He then looked at Willow. She was still fast asleep, oblivious to the near invasion that happened. Morning came, and Willow woke up. She saw Jasper on the couch with his elbow resting on the armrest, but he was sleeping. Concerned, she got out of bed. Willow patted his face. "Get back to bed, Jasper." She wanted him to get some sleep. He came with her at her behest, and now he was sleeping on the couch instead of the bed. Jasper held her hand and slowly opened his eyes. He stared into her clean, beautiful eyes. Apparently, she had a good night's sleep. "It's all right. I had enough sleep." Jasper went into the makeshift bathroom to wash himself up and then came back out a moment later. "I'll be waiting outside." Willow's team texted her, saying they would be meeting an elder to talk about the ancient ship found in a cave on the island. Willow changed into a long denim dress and came out. She looked perfect in every kind of clothing, and blue lent her the look of a mature woman. Everyone had breakfast in the tent beside them. Willow had gone spelunking with her team members before, but this was a different experience. Everything felt meaningful, and all because she had Jasper with them. He took care of her and tended to her every single need, including but not limited to filling her plate with food and preparing her cutlery before she even asked. Everyone was forced to watch this show of affection. They used to envy Willow for her family's wealth, and now they envied her for her luck and romance. She managed to get herself a handsome, powerful, and meticulous boyfriend who cared about her. Jasper wasn't being a simp either. He was genuinely caring. Willow was his whole world. Even though there were a few young and fresh ladies on the team, none of them managed to even get a moment of his time. With Willow around, he couldn't care less about any other woman. After breakfast, they were led to the elder's abode, and they brought a ton of gifts with them as well. With the guide being the translator, they started a conversation. Jasper was staring at the young man beside the elder. The lad was averting his gaze nervously, for he was the thief who tried to invade Willow's room the night before. When he saw Willow disembarking from the ship, he was attracted by her beautiful and regal looks. He had never seen any girl as beautiful as her. That very same night, his desire flared, and he intended to stalk Willow's room, but before he could even get close, a mysterious man was already waiting for him. One look at his eyes, and he scurried back to his room. Now, that very same man was staring at him like a beast trying to tear its prey apart. Sheepishly, the lad left. While on their way back to the ship, their team leader solemnly told everyone to be on alert. Not even the guide can be trusted. Some of our team members lost their luggage and phones last night. Girls, do not stay in a room alone. I suggest that all the ladies take up the cabins on the ship. Do not stay on the island, Jasper said. Willow whirled around to look at him. Did something happen while I was asleep? Winston nodded in agreement. Mr. Wyatt is right. Ladies, from now on, you'll be sleeping in the cabins. We'll have patrols guarding the vessel. We have to stick together from now on. Do not let your guard down, and remember, this is just one stop in our journey. Once we find the ship and get our lead, we'll leave this island right away. After the meeting, Jasper took Willow's luggage to the ship. Curious, Willow asked, did something happen after I fell asleep last night? No, Jasper answered. Don't lie to me. I know something happened, so tell me. Willow turned him around and looked him in the eye. Jasper could control his expressions perfectly to the point he even fooled lie detectors before, but Willow's gaze was more powerful than any lie detector, so he could never lie to her. You saw the guy beside the elder we met just now? He tried to sneak into your room last night. Huh? Willow was shocked, Then she tried to remember that lad standing beside the elder. She did notice his scary leer. Willow wrapped her arms around Jasper's neck and looked up at him. Good thing you were there, or I would have been in trouble. Even without Jasper around, she would still have her bodyguards dealing with the invader, but she was glad he was with her. That night, Willow slept in a cabin on the ship, while her bodyguards stood sentry, keeping everyone safe. Someone was standing near the ship, staring at the vessel. He was the lad who had fallen for Willow. As if under a spell, he was driven by the desire to make Willow his, and he would make sure she never left the island. He would make her his bride. Unable to sleep, Willow looked at Jasper, who was on a couch going through her notes even though he had already gone through it a few times. He's so serious when he works. She pointed at the bed beside her. Come here and sleep, Jasper. He must not have slept well last night. I'm not sleepy. Jasper looked at her and checked the time. It's 11. What's she doing staying up? I can't sleep. I want to, since we're going to search for the ship tomorrow. Willow was frustrated as well. She couldn't control when she fell asleep, and furthermore, she was excited right now. Can you tell me more about your past? I want to know more about you. Willow lay on the bed and rested her chin on her hands, staring at Jasper. Nothing remarkable, really. Lived in the military for a long time, going through the same training every single day. You won't like how droll it is, said Jasper calmly. What about your folks? Dead. My uncle's the only family I have left, said Jasper. Willow clasped her mouth shut with her hand. She regretted asking that question, and she looked at Jasper apologetically. Sorry. Don't be. Nothing I can't talk about. Jasper didn't want her to feel guilty about it. Willow shut her mouth and rested her chin on her hands again. Can you tell stories then? Bedtime stories? Out of my depth. Jasper shook his head. Amused, Willow chuckled. Of course, he didn't know how to tell bedtime stories. I should let him off the hook now. The light shone on Willow's long hair that tumbled down her shoulder and coiled around her face. She looked as lively as a fairy fluttering around in the warm midsummer. She was vivacious, naive, and sometimes silly, but her smile brightened up the world. Captivated by her smile, Jasper couldn't move his eyes away. Noticing his stare, Willow smiled sheepishly and quickly buried her face in the blanket. Jasper snapped out of it. Nervous, he stood up. I'll check things out. You get to sleep. Sure, but come back soon, said Willow. It was the dead of the night when Jasper came back. Willow had fallen asleep, and her leg was peeking out of the blanket. Jasper was amused, then he tucked her in and nudged her leg into the blanket. Nothing happened that night. Morning came, and everyone got ready for the expedition. Aside from the designated team, everyone else stayed behind to guard the ship. Willow was on the expedition team, and she had 4 bodyguards with her. Can you help me with my back, Jasper? I can't reach it. Willow approached Jasper holding a tub of sunscreen. She was only wearing a black camisole, revealing her arms and beautiful back. Jasper almost stopped breathing for a moment, but he took the sunscreen and helped her rub it across her back. Her skin was soft and smooth to the touch. Willow tilted her head so he could rub the sunscreen all over the places she couldn't reach. Unbeknownst to her, Jasper was tall enough to notice the skin under her shirt when she was in this position. Willow grew perfectly, her body a lot more mature than her face would suggest. As he rubbed the sunscreen across her back, Jasper found himself perspiring a little. Done, he said huskily. Willow took the sunscreen back and smiled. Thanks. She opened up her closet and took a black windbreaker out. She then tied her hair into a ponytail so that it was easier for her to work. The team set off. They got into 3 off-road vehicles and drove off according to the guide's instructions. The cave was only 30 minutes away, and they arrived at their destination not too long later. It was a natural cave with a small entrance. Only a single person could pass through it at one time, and there were a lot of passages inside. The ship was embedded under a stone wall. Thanks to the cave's shelter, it was preserved nicely. Jasper followed Willow closely. When they came to the ship, what the team saw shocked them. The excited archaeologists quickly whipped out their gear to start their investigation. Willow was equally excited as well. They split into smaller teams and entered the ship in batches. The vessel was gigantic, almost 100 feet from forward to stern. The deck was about 30 feet wide. Shipbuilding was already decent enough even back in the day. There'll be 2 to 3 layers of cabin in this ship. Maybe we'll find something. They split their team based on the work they would do. Willow's team would stay on the deck to investigate. She whipped out her magnifying glass to take a closer look, but then the board under her creaked. Even though she wasn't heavy, this ship was already more than 1,000 years old, and the board underneath the deck was starting to give way. Careful. Jasper pulled Willow back to his side. The place she stood on earlier had shattered and fallen. Jasper held the steel pole with one hand and clasped Willow with his other arm, keeping her from falling. Willow was shocked too, and she gave Jasper a grateful look. Then, she checked out the hole curiously. Oh, there's a hidden chamber down there. We can check it out. Watch out for snakes. I'll clear the path. Wait for me. Jasper leaped into the hole. Once he was sure the chamber was safe, he said, "Jump. I'll catch you." The chamber was about 8 feet tall, but Willow jumped anyway. Jasper caught her, and they clung to each other. With her arms wrapped around his neck, Willow felt safe in his embrace. Jasper held up a lamp for Willow while she checked things out. A moment later, she found a metal box and opened it, revealing a few pieces of yellowing paper within. Even though it was probably 1,000 years old, she could still make out the words. Some of the papers had broken down, however. Willow quickly took a few photos and made sure she didn't make any noise. Once she was done, the papers started rotting as they had been exposed to the humidity in the air, and they turned into dust. Willow heaved a sigh. Good thing I took the photos in time. She swiveled around, but someone covered her eyes in darkness overwhelmed her. What's wrong? There are a few skeletons there. Are you scared of them? Jasper asked, in case she got spooked if she saw the remains. If they're just skeletons, then no, said Willow. Jasper pulled his hand back, and Willow shone her flashlight on the skeletons. She then crouched down and checked the items around them, and she noticed one of the skeletons holding a metal box. The artifacts the islanders found must have been sold for money. They haven't found this chamber yet, so I can keep a few things. She picked up her backpack and unfurled a stretch of cloth. Carefully, she placed the metal box in the cloth and tied it up. Jasper watched her as she worked. He said nothing, only keeping an eye on them. They stayed on the ship for 3 hours, and they gained a lot from the investigation. The team had lunch and went for another round to clean up things, then they could leave. It was then an explosion broke out at the cave's entrance, shocking everyone. Quickly find out what happened, said the leader. Part of the team quickly checked things out and came back a moment later. Someone blasted the entrance. The exit's blocked by a boulder. Must be the locals. What are they trying to do? Someone barked. They want to take all our stuff for themselves. You know how lawless this place is. They own the island. They can take everything we have and live a rich life for years. Damn it, and we just got everything we needed to. All we had to do was get out and leave. Willow looked at Jasper. Jasper gave her a look of assurance. No matter what, he would lead them to safety. Everyone split up and see if there are any more exits. 3 hours left before sundown, so make haste. Everyone split up to search the cave for another exit, but an hour later everyone came back and said they found no more exits. So, we'll have to stay the night in a cave? There's an exit there. Jasper pointed up. Everyone looked at the top of the cave. Agape. He's talking about the exit on the roof? But we don't have any climbing gear. How can we even get up there? That's too high up. How can we even get up there? Willow held Jasper's sleeve in worry. No. We can wait. The other guys will come for us if we are missing for too long. I can climb my way up there and smash the hole open. We can get out before sundown. Jasper didn't want Willow to stay the night here. The temperature difference between night and day was big, so she could fall ill. Are you sure you can do it, Mr. Wyatt? A surprised Winston asked. I can, said Jasper confidently. Everyone else was shocked. They were just archaeologists, not ninjas. There was no way any of them could scale the walls of this cave without any gear. Thinking that Jasper was also just an archaeologist, they didn't think he could do this. Very well. We'll be counting on you, then. That's our only way out. Willow gave Jasper a worried look. She knew he was a capable man, but she couldn't just calm down while he was going to take a risk. Be careful. Don't push yourself, all right, she said. Trust me, answered Jasper. He would never make empty promises. Anything he said he could do, he would do it. Jasper took off his coat, revealing a tight shirt. Everyone was surprised when they saw his muscles. They didn't take Jasper as a muscular man. Then, he started climbing the walls barehanded. Even the places everyone thought couldn't be scaled, he scaled them. What was his job before he became an archaeologist? That's unbelievable. The walls were about 20 feet tall, and Jasper had scaled half of it, but the closer he got to the exit, the harder it was to climb. Willow's heart was beating fast, and her neck was getting sore, but she kept her eyes firmly on Jasper, her heart racing. You can do it, Jasper, Willow encouraged. Jasper finally reached the opening, but then someone out there slammed a boulder down on his hand. Most people would reflexively pull their hand back when they were assaulted out of the blue, which would cause them to fall to their deaths. Jasper didn't. He knew he would be attacked, so he endured the pain and slithered out of the opening. As expected, he saw a panicked man outside, the very same man who tried to sneak into Willow's room. Jasper's face fell, and murder filled his eyes. Realizing the incoming danger, the man took 2 steps back, but Jasper slammed his foot into the man's belly and grabbed him by the collar, then he smashed his fist against the man's face. Quickly, the lad slid down a slide and disappeared into the woods. He was a local, so he knew this place very well. Jasper gave up going after him and shouted, "I'm out." The team members applauded him, and someone said, "Miss Presgrave, you have a great boyfriend." Willow smiled. She wanted to say they weren't a couple, but there was no need for that, so she would just let them think that they were indeed a couple. Yeah, he is. There was a hint of worship in her voice. The boulder at the entrance was cleared out soon enough, courtesy of Jasper. Everyone was delighted to see the light outside, and their despair melted away. They got into their cars and left in a hurry. At the same time, they made up their minds to leave this island. Jasper's hand was bruised from the boulder slam, but he hid it so Willow wouldn't notice. Once they arrived at the pier, Winston led everyone onto the ship. Everyone engaged in a small discussion and decided to say goodbye to the clan leader and leave. Then, they would decide on their next course of action once they were safely out at sea. Just then, a female team member said in a panic, "I left my laptop at my abode back on the island. All my important files are in there." Willow quickly assured, "It's all right. We can go back for it." "I'll go back for it," Jasper said. It's not safe on the island. The guide just said one of our team members beat up the clan leader's son and they are demanding an explanation. When did that happen? Willow asked. The guide's not sure. Jasper stepped up. I did it. He ambushed me back at the roof's exit. I beat him up, but he ran away. Willow quickly held his hand. Are you all right? She asked, concerned. Jasper hid his hand behind him, but that only made Willow more concerned. She grabbed his hand to look at it, and sure enough, there was a bruise. That's too far. First, they blast the exit and trap us in the cave, and then they attack Jasper? Willow snapped. She really wanted to send her bodyguards to teach those people a lesson. We need that laptop. All our important files are in there, said Winston. Even though it was the team members' mistake, they had to get that laptop back. I'll do it, said Jasper. No. My bodyguards will get it. Just rest up. Willow didn't want him to go. This is all my fault. I left in too much of a hurry and didn't notice my missing laptop. I'm really sorry. The laptop's under the bed of the last room in the corridor. I hid it just in case it got stolen. The team member almost cried. Willow turned around and assured her, it's all right. Something like this was bound to happen. Just get some rest. We'll deal with the matter. Soothed, the team member left. When Willow turned back, Jasper was already gone. Where is he? She quickly asked Winston. He left. Probably went to get the laptop. He wouldn't listen to me, huh? Willow complained as she quickly ran out to the deck. She saw Jasper driving toward the house on the island. Be careful, Jasper, she shouted. Her bodyguards were guarding the first floor. The guide told the archaeologists to leave as soon as possible, or the locals might come after them. Jasper charged into the yard they stayed in before and stormed to the last room in the house. He kicked the door down and grabbed the laptop bag from under the bed. The laptop was intact, but when he came back out, a group of locals were standing around his car, armed with machetes and steel bats. Obviously, they weren't going to let Jasper go unscathed. One of the men was the one he beat up. He angrily pointed at Jasper and talked in the local tongue. His comrades were riled up, and they glared at Jasper. Jasper saddled the backpack and coldly stared at the locals, especially the one who tried to trap them in the cave. From the moment he tried to harm Willow, he already had a death warrant out for him. Attack, the lad roared, and he charged ahead with his machete raised up high. Everyone thought Jasper was just an archaeologist, but little did they know that Jasper was actually a professional killer. A few blows later, the locals realized something was wrong. Jasper easily took them out and didn't even break a sweat. He did not hesitate with the attacks as well. Even though they were armed, none could even fend off the impact of his punches. At this moment, Jasper slammed his foot down on the chest of the lad who tried to hurt Willow and broke a few of his ribs. The lad screamed, but Jasper didn't care. He quickly climbed into his car and left. The clan leader was told of the battle, and the news of his son getting his ribs broken enraged him. He led his men on a chase. Jasper had emerged from the housing area, but a few rickety off-road vehicles were hot on his tail. The clan elder was in one of those cars, loudly swearing vengeance on Jasper. Winston was on the deck of the ship, looking through a telescope, and what he saw shocked him. Mr. Wyatt's back, but an angry mob is hot on his tail. Willow charged onto the deck. Let me see. She saw a big group of armed locals chasing Jasper. Some were even hurling stones and knives at him. What happened? Why are they chasing him? Willow panicked. Just as Jasper was about to reach the pier, 2 more cars showed up and got in his way. He's in danger. Willow quickly came down to the first floor and ordered her bodyguards, all of you, I need you to save Jasper right now. Bring him back to me." 4 of the bodyguards stayed, while the other 4 quickly went to Jasper's rescue. Since Jasper couldn't pass, he got out of the car, and already he was surrounded by 24 angry male locals who were young and lean. They were roaring angrily and hurling stones at him. Jasper defended himself as murder flared in his eyes. The air of bloodlust that surrounded him squeezed the locals by their throats, and their roars quickly became whimpers, then whispers, then nothing. The clan leader got out of the car and pointed at Jasper. He said something in the local tongue that whipped his lackeys into action. It was perhaps the enticement of great reward, so a couple of men with bats stepped ahead, but Jasper snatched their weapons away and easily beat them down. Everyone else quickly charged at him. At the same time, Willow's bodyguards arrived, and they quickly formed a protective circle around Jasper. "We'll cut a way through," said Jasper. "Yes, sir." The bodyguards saw no other way out. The battle began. Jasper and the bodyguards were outnumbered at least 4 to 1. Everyone was on the deck, watching the battle through telescopes. Worry took over their minds, and their hearts raced. It was then they realized that Jasper was actually more skilled than he looked. Not even Willow's bodyguards could fight as well as he could. He was fast, precise, and deadly. In just a moment, a few locals were already rolling on the ground and howling in pain. Jasper's attacks were lethal. In just 15 minutes, all the locals were already on the ground, out of commission. Scared out of his wits, the clan leader quickly got back into his car and drove away. Jasper got into his car and took the bodyguards back to the ship. Everyone welcomed them with a round of applause. Willow dashed forward and threw her arms around Jasper even when everyone was watching. Everyone smiled. When Willow realized what she was doing, she blushed and held Jasper's arm. "Let's go to our room. I'll need to see if you're hurt." "I'm not," Jasper muttered. "Just let me check." "You didn't even tell me when you were hurt," Willow grumbled. He had hidden his bruised hand from her earlier. Willow dragged him away just like that, and Winston told the captain to steer the boat away in case the locals came back with more vitriol. 10 minutes later, the boat had left the pier and made its way to the open sea. That was their next destination. Once they went back to the room, Willow closed the door and ordered, "Take off your clothes." Jasper couldn't say no, so he took off his shirt right in front of her, revealing his beautiful muscles, perfectly chiseled torso, and taut rear. He looked like a sculpture. At the same time, Willow noticed a few red marks on his back. He fought barehanded, so the locals got some hits in. "Oh, your back's hurt. I need to put some salve on it." Willow observed him seriously, staring at his half-naked body without a care. She was genuinely checking on him and nothing else. However, Jasper was starting to feel his heart squeezing up from all the touching Willow was doing, and he tensed up. "She does know she's making life hard for me, right?" After the checkup, Willow said, "Get showered. I'll deal with the injuries in a bit, and then it's time to sleep." Jasper took a shower while Willow told her bodyguard to get her some salve. When she went outside to get the meds, everyone asked her about Jasper's situation. They were treating her as if she was his girlfriend. She was a little delighted. Even though they weren't a couple just yet, things might change in the future. Sounds of flowing water meandered across the air, and Willow was imagining Jasper taking a shower. More specifically, she was imagining his stark naked body, and her cheeks burned up. Quickly, she went out to the balcony for some fresh air. When she came back, Jasper was only wearing a pair of long casual pants. She approached him with a smile. "Sit on the couch. I'll deal with your injuries." "I'll do it myself," said Jasper. He couldn't let her do it, or something in him might snap. That was why he took a cold shower, so he could keep his fire in check. He didn't want her stoking it again. "No. I'll do it," Willow protested. There was no way he could reach his back easily. Jasper couldn't win, so he let her do whatever she wanted. Willow skipped the Q-tip and poured the salve over her hand. She rubbed her hands together to warm the salve up and massage Jasper's bruises. The moment her hand touched his back, Jasper tensed up. All he could think of was her hand against his skin. "Tell me if it hurts." "The captain said I have to do this for the salve to work." "Hold it in, all right," said Willow. There was no need to hold in any pain. Willow's strength was too minor to cause any pain. It was then Willow realized that Jasper had a big back, and his muscles were really taut. They were hard to the touch and a little bumpy. Once she was done, Jasper had a film of sweat glistening on his forehead. Willow had just stoked his flame of desire, and it was burning hot. "Done? I'll get some fresh air." Jasper stood up and left the room. Willow put the salve away for the next day. The team leader summoned her for a meeting to sort out the leads they found so they could locate the artifact's location. She came to the conference room, and Winston asked her to take the main spot, which she humbly gave back to him. She sat beside him, and an excited Winston said, "Good news, Willow. We just went through the leads we found, and there's a map in this box you collected. They indicate where the leads are scattered around in this zone." "Really? That's great news. So, can we find more clues now?" Willow said in delight. So that fall was a blessing in disguise. "Yes. We can start our investigation, and through GPS, pinpoint the area where the ship sank." Willow was excited. She came all the way with her team to find something, so there was no way she would want to return empty-handed. She wanted to do something for her nation's efforts to reclaim their artifacts. "Time to begin our research." Winston scanned the map and uploaded it into his computer, then he projected it onto the screen for everyone to see. While everyone was staring at the map, the member at the end of the table surreptitiously took a photo of it with their phone. Jasper came in as well, and the member beside Willow gave up their seat for him. Willow turned around and smiled at him, then she went back to Winston's explanation. Jasper figured out the goal for this trip after he went through Willow's notes. He was every bit as knowledgeable as everyone around the table now. Moreover, he was a smart man with a photographic memory. Once the meeting was over, everyone retired for the night. The member who took a photo of the map went back to his room and took out his laptop. He then logged into a private account of some website and sent the photo of the map to his correspondent. "Good. You will be paid handsomely for this," the correspondent texted. "I can work for you guys, but you must give me $1.5 million once we find the artifact," texted the member. "Of course. $1.5 million is but pocket change for us. Keep us updated about all progress on your side so we can find the artifact faster." "Understood." This spy was a man named Yosemite Zingras. Before he joined the expedition, an international antiquity trafficker established contact with him and promised a payment of $1.5 million if he would be their mole. Willow was still going through the map even at night. A few tectonic shifts would have happened over 1,000 years, so the land masses around this zone were probably different now.
Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this story, please like and share so others can see it too. Also hit the subscription button and notification bell so you can be notified on our next release. Thank you for your support. God bless you.